After another ugly session where we repealed most of yesterday's rebound, not all, let's focus on one of the rare stocks that's working in this environment. I'm talking about Generac Holdings, a maker of energy equipment that you might recognize from its in-home power generators or these terrific ads I've been watching. When the averages were bouncing hard yesterday, Generac made a new all-time high at 118. Even after today's horrific sell-off, it's only pulled back to 116. In fact, the stock's still up 16% for the year. How the heck is that possible? In part, it's because Generac's the kind of name that you buy during a panic. Typically, it roars when we're worried about natural disasters like hurricanes. But if you're really freaked out about the coronavirus, I can see the appeal of having your own generator. On top of that, Generac just reported a phenomenal quarter a couple of weeks ago. Last year, they made a couple of clean energy acquisitions we got to talk about. Think storage technology that makes solar power a lot more viable. And those storage systems are now selling like hotcakes. So could this have one more upside? Let's take a look with Aaron Jagdfeld. He's the chairman and CEO of Generac Holdings. Learn more about the company and its prospects. Mr. Jagdfeld, welcome to Mad Money.
Thanks, Jim.
Well, I have to tell you, there are some mega trends out there.
Right.
And you and I are both aware of them, and you are playing into almost all the big mega trends we talk about. I'll give you the floor to talk about.
Yeah, so we see a number of things. First of all, the energy markets, right? So this traditional utility model, when the power comes from a power plant, goes hundreds of miles to your house. You pay for that. We have a utility company that's it's a monopoly, basically, right? You don't have any choice.
We have American Electric Power.
Right. You don't have a choice in who the provider is. You don't have a choice in what you pay for the power that you receive. You can maybe control some of the demand side of that, but that model is going to change dramatically over the next 10 years. And that's a $4 trillion industry. And that's going to change in a big way. And we think that decentralized power generation, so rooftop solar, storage, maybe even using a gas generator like some of our legacy products to generate power, and then store that power, and then consume that power and use that power when and where you need it.
Including I put solar panels up, and I can get power and store it with a Generac.
Correct.
And then use it when I want to?
Correct. So you can use that.
That's right now.
That's right now. That product actually launched in December. So we bought two companies last year and got into this space. Spent over $100 million. We bought a company called Neuro Technologies and one called Pika Energy. And these two, the combination of these two companies, we introduced products that is a smart storage system. So think of it as like an appliance, right? So it's an appliance. You already have that solar if you have it, or if you're going to add solar at some point. The problem with solar, if you don't have a battery, solar is basically, it's a one-way trip. You're sending that power back to the grid.
Right.
So let's say you're in California and you have a problem like PG&E has created, right?
Right.
So the power goes out and you have a solar system, but you don't have storage. Your lights are out. You might think, but I have solar.
Right.
The sun's out. Why don't I have any power? But that's a one-way trip. If you have a storage system, you can store that sunlight and you can use that battery to provide for resiliency if the grid goes down, or you can consume that power at points in the day, maybe when PG&E or some other utilities charging you a lot more off the grid. Right. And you can save that money. So it's an energy savings appliance.
And there's only really one other company that does this. I mean, you guys are really game in town.
We are. We think that it's a pretty unique space for us. We think our brand, with our legacy products, which we've done great with, right? The home standby generator category, we built that.
With the grid being bad, many of my friends have it who are in the suburbs.
Absolutely.
Because it's unreliable. We never thought in our lifetime that the grid would be unreliable, but it is.
But it is. No, the grid reliability problem is real. Right, and people suffer through it. You suffer through outages a couple times a year.
We just accept it. We have to throw out everything in our refrigerators, and we accept the fact that if you're sick, there's really nothing you can do. Right. And that's not acceptable.
No, it's not. So we created a product category for that, right? So you don't have to live through that. 20 years ago, we started that category. It's a $1 billion a year business now, right? So it's a huge business. We look at storage, and we see a lot of parallels in how that's going to grow over the next decade. We think that's another $1 billion opportunity for us.
I mean, I have to tell you, candidly, I watched your ad show to my wife. And her reaction was the same as ours. It can't be. That's snake oil. How did you do it?
Yeah, it's not snake oil. I can guarantee you that.
No, it's unbelievable.
Happy to talk to anybody about that.
No, I'm saying both of us were just, it's kind of astounding that someone could produce that machine.
Right, it's
so
pretty cool.
So you bought the product. Right. You must have tested it over and over again, realized it worked.
Right.
And this is available. I mean, anyone who has a rooftop.
That's right. If you have a rooftop and if you want to have some more independence and flexibility with your energy needs, right? You want to reduce the cost. That's really what you want to do. And you want to add to. You're trying to be part of the solution, not part of the problem when it comes to climate change. Right. Right. So that's the other mega trend that exists here. Is the conversation and the attitudes around climate change are real. Right.
So I mean, how do you keep these in stock? I've got to believe that this is the demand for this is extraordinary.
Yeah, it's not a demand side issue. It's a supply side issue at this point. So ramping supply chain. You know, our initial guidance when we bought those companies, we thought we'd do 50 megawatt of backup power. It's 150 megawatts that we think we're going to do this year. So it's 3x what we originally thought in our business case.
Now, in times of stress, in times of panic, obviously people reach for Generac. Is the coronavirus that kind of panic?
It's interesting because you get people who they get concerned about everything, having clean water, having the access to food. They don't want to go out of the house, so they start thinking about this. What happens if? And so what we have where the product starts to become popular when you get something like this is people who have additional use cases for the product or needs, right? So maybe they have a sick family member, right, who physically can't leave the house.
Could unfortunately happen.
That happens. Older parents that live in the home, right? So they have situations where they want to keep people from being out of the house, and they're very concerned if they don't have a continuous supply of power.
That could be this. One last question. Let's say I have a Tesla. Ideal, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it can sync with Tesla.
Absolutely. Now, Tesla would be a competitor to this, too.
In that sense, yes.
In that sense, because they sell
they have their own thing, right.
But if you have an EV, if you have an electric vehicle, you think about this, right? If power is out, now you lose transportation. So it's a very different thing going forward.
I know Tesla does have it, but they seem to de-emphasize. You guys, on the other hand, are ready. Excellent. That's a terrific story. I'm glad because I saw the ads and said, wow, I got Generac on. That's Aaron Jagdfeld. He's the chairman and CEO of Generac. Look, I am a stock guy fascinated by great stories. I know that I also feel like I should get one of these. Mad Money's back at the break.
Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @Jim Cramer on Twitter. Have a question? Tweet Cramer. #MadTweets. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com.